On July the 6th of this year, 4 masked men snatched £30,000, which was being transferred to the Frampton branch of the British United Bank. Wearing balaclava helmets and wielding pickaxe handles, they threw ammonia into the eyes of the bank staff and got away with the money, none of which has been recovered. After intensive inquiries, only one man has been arrested, and today, 35-year-old Harry George Bryant stands trial, charged in connection with the raid with robbery with violence and with assaulting the police.
My lord, for my first witness, I would like to call...
Wait a minute. May I say something before we continue, my lord?
No, you may not. Sit down. Your chance to speak will arrive in due course. Until then, you will remain quiet.
I have a right to be heard.
At the proper time. Until then, anything else you wish to convey to this court will be done through the offices of your counsel, Miss Tate.
No, it won't.
Miss Tate, I suggest you speak to your client and advise him on court procedure before I am forced to punish him for contempt or have him removed.
As you say, my lord.
I don't wish to take her advice, my lord. I'm sacking her.
Your what?
I wish to dispense with the services of my legal representative, my lord.
Did you know anything of this, Miss Tate?
No, my lord. That is, my client and I had a disagreement on how his defence was to be conducted, but I thought the matter had been settled.
No, apparently not.
No, my lord.
Is the accused represented under legal aid?
He is, my lord.
And then he will continue to be.
If I may remind his lordship, the accused is not bound to have a counsel if he's under legal aid. If he insists in acting on his own behalf, he is entitled to do so, and refusal to allow him is a ground of appeal. The authority for this, my lord, is to be found in R.
Yes, of course, Mr. Logan. You're quite right. I'm obliged to you. Thank you for reminding me. Who are the solicitors acting for the accused?
Eldon and Christie, my lord.
Is either of them in court?
No, my lord.
I see. Why did you not inform the court earlier than this that you intended to dispense with the assistance of counsel?
Well, I intended to, my lord, but I didn't quite know when to do it.
Are you not? That Miss Tate is not without experience as an advocate, and to dispense with her services at this stage would be ill-advised, to say the least.
I didn't choose her, my lord. The trouble with the legal aid system
I
is
am
that
not interested in your opinion of the legal aid system. Just consider yourself fortunate that you live in a country where the opportunity to be defended by learned counsel in a court of law at the taxpayer's expense is open to you.
I'm innocent, my lord. I shouldn't be here in the first place. Well, I don't consider that fortunate.
You are here, Mr. Bryant, because the magistrates committed you for trial. It will be for the jury to decide your guilt or innocence. You are, of course, entitled to defend yourself. But my advice to you is that you reconsider your position.
Well, I've been reconsidering it for the last week, my lord. I wish to defend myself.
Are you saying that you do not wish for any legal representation?
That's
or
it.
simply that you do not wish to be represented by Miss Tate?
Yes, that's it.
Which?
Well, I don't want to be represented by anyone.
So be it. Miss Tate?
I don't think there is anything I can usefully say at this point, my lord.
Very well, Miss Tate. You may consider your duties at an end, and you are excused.
My lord.
If I could just explain why I've taken this course, my lord.
If you insist on defending yourself without the assistance of counsel...
But I would like to explain
I repeat, if you insist on defending yourself, it is my duty to see that you abide by the rules of evidence and procedure.
But I'd like to tell you why...
In your own interest, don't. Before you need open your mouth, the prosecution has to prove the case against you. If you open your mouth at this stage, it may help them. Who knows? I will do all I can to assist and direct you as well as I am able. But I warn you that I will not tolerate for long any procedure, any interruptions in this court which might interrupt the procedure of this trial. Is that clear?
Yes, my lord.
I hope it is. We're now ready to continue.
Well, there is one thing, my lord.
What is that?
May I sit in the well of the court?
Oh, very well. In these exceptional circumstances, I will give you permission to do so. But the prison officers will remain with you. I see you've come well prepared. Now, before we start, Mr. Bryant, is there anything else?
Yes, there is just one thing, my lord. I'd like that man removed from the court.
Well, who is that?
It's Inspector Collins, my lord, the arresting and principal officer in this case.
Is he to give evidence?
He is, my lord.
Then he will leave the court until he is called to give his evidence. Now, are we ready to proceed?
Well, I certainly am, my lord.
Very well. You may call your first witness, Mr. Logan.
I'm grateful, my lord. For my first witness, I would like to call Alfred John Mason.
Alfred John Mason, please.
Church of England.
Take the Bible in your right hand, please, and repeat the words on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Your name is Alfred John Mason, and you live at 16 Mayhew Court, Peel Street in Frampton.
Yes, that is correct.
And you're an employee of the British United Bank with the position of counter-clerk at their sub-branch in Drayton Road, Frampton.
Yes.
In your own words, Mr. Mason, would you tell the court about the events which you found yourself involved in on the morning of Thursday, the 6th of July of this year?
Yes, sir. Well, on that morning I called at our main branch, as I do most mornings before going on to the sub-branch where I work. It's to collect any papers, documents that we may have to deal with. Except Thursdays, that is, when I also collect the money, and then with Mr.
Just
Rowan.
stop there a moment, please, Mr. Mason. You say that you collect the money. Would you explain to the court what money, precisely?
Well, it's the money we always take to the sub-branch every Thursday morning.
Yes, but why? Who for?
Well, it's mainly for local building contractors. It's their weekly payroll. They collect it later in the day.
You sign for it, I suppose, when you take delivery at the main branch?
Of course, we both do.
Both?
Mr. Rowan and I.
As Mr. Rowan being the bank guard?
Yes.
Mr. Rowan will be giving evidence, my lord. How much money did you sign for on this occasion?
£30,000.
Exactly?
Yes.
None of which has been recovered, I believe.
That's rather a lot of money, Mr. Mason. Was it usual for you to collect that amount each Thursday?
Yes, sir.
Now, please proceed, Mr. Logan.
I'm obliged, my lord. What happened after you and Mr. Rowan had collected the money?
We drove to the sub-branch with it.
And how far is that?
About 5 miles.
I see. You arrived at the sub-branch, presumably without incident.
Yes.
And then what happened, Mr. Mason?
Well, we got out of the car, and Mr. Rowan went round to the boot and unlocked it. Then I took the case out, and we started towards the bank.
You didn't park directly outside the bank, then?
Well, we couldn't. There was this transit van parked there. We parked just behind it.
Go on.
Well, suddenly the rear doors of this transit van burst open, and a bunch of masked men jumped out brandishing these pickaxe handles and screaming.
Screaming?
Yes. Well, yelling like...
Like what?
Well, like Red Indians on the warpath, I suppose.
I see.
And then what happened, Mr. Mason?
Well, they leapt straight for us. It was terrifying.
I'm sure it was, Mr. Mason. What did you do then?
I didn't do anything. I couldn't. I was so surprised, I sort of just stood there.
It would be fair to say, would it not, Mr. Mason, that you were paralyzed with fear? Well, you needn't reproach yourself for that. I'm sure that any one of us would have acted in a similar way in the same situation. How many of these masked bandits were there, Mr. Mason?
It seemed like hundreds.
Answer counsel's question correctly. How many men did you see jump from the van?
I'm not sure, sir. About 4, I think. They were all big men.
And then what happened?
Well, I'm not too sure, because one of the men squirted ammonia in my eyes, and I didn't see anything after that. I dropped the case. Well, I thought I'd been blinded, you see. Well, the pain was terrible. all I could hear was a lot of shouting and fighting going on around me, and I was pushed to the ground. But I didn't really think about what was going on. All I could think of was my eyes.
You subsequently went to hospital for treatment, did you not?
Yes.
I see that you're wearing dark glasses, Mr. Mason. Does that mean that your vision has suffered as a result of this attack?
Well, I can see all right now, but they do trouble me now and then.
It would be a miracle if they didn't. Thank you, Mr. Mason. I have no more questions for this witness, my lord.
Just a minute, Mr. Mason. You haven't finished yet. Mr. Bryant, you may now, if you so wish, cross-examine this witness on his testimony here and anything else relevant to the issues of this case. Do you so wish?
I do, my lord.
Very well.
Mr. Mason, you were asked by the police to attend an identification parade.
Yes, I was.
Did you attend it?
Yes.
How long after the robbery was this?
Well, a few days, actually.
What, 2, 3?
4, I think.
Did you see me on that parade, Mr. Mason?
I don't remember. You may have been. Well, I didn't pick anyone out.
Well, of course not. You didn't recognise anyone, did you?
No, as I said, the men were masked.
Masked. Now, did the police show you any photographs before the parade, Mr. Mason?
I was shown a book of photos to see if I could recognise anyone. Mugshots, they call them. But of course I didn't recognise anyone.
Did you write a statement?
Yes.
In your own hand?
Yes.
Immediately after the robbery?
Well, a couple of days later.
Mr. Bryant, would you mind telling us where all this is leading? The witnesses said that he didn't recognise anyone, including you.
Well, I just want it made absolutely clear, my lord.
It is, lucidly so.
Yes, my lord. Now, the robbery took place on the 6th of July. That's over 2 months ago, isn't it?
Yes.
And your eyes still trouble you?
Yes.
I suppose they were really bad for weeks after the robbery.
Well, yes, they were. My vision was quite blurred. I wasn't able to work for several weeks.
And yet 4 days after the robbery, you were able to study photographs, attend an identification parade and write a statement in your own hand.
Well,
Did the police suggest you wear those glasses in court, Mr. Mason? Or are you expecting a favourable view from the Criminal Compensation Board?
My lord.
Quite, Mr. Logan. That is an extremely improper remark, Bryant, and I must instruct you, members of the jury, to disregard it. I must also warn you, Bryant, that questions which affect the credibility of a witness but have no bearing on the actual inquiry must not be asked, unless you have reasonable grounds for thinking that the imputations conveyed by that question are well-founded or true.
Well, my lord, I would have thought my imputations, as you put it, do have some substance, considering the witness's answers to my questions. And, I refer, my lord, the weight of evidence given by a witness depends upon his knowledge of the facts and his truthfulness.
Yes, I don't know what point you're attempting to establish in any event. Nothing that the witness has said so far implicates you in any way.
Well, perhaps not, my lord, but the emotive issues realised by the degree of seriousness of this witness's injuries could act against me.
Not if you are innocent.
May I continue, my lord?
You may.
Just one last point, Mr. Mason. You said the men that attacked you were all big men. Is that correct?
yes, that's right.
Bigger than you?
Yes.
All of them, all 4?
Well, yes.
How tall are you, Mr. Mason?
I'm 5'9".
I'm 5'8". Thank you, Mr. Mason. No more questions, my lord.